Raider Nation, make sure you subscribe and turn on your notification for the latest Raiders news, rumors, videos every day, but especially this week, especially for tomorrow, because the NFL trade deadline, it's going to be here tomorrow. And if the Raiders end up making a deal, if they end up trading a player away, we are going to be going at it here. So make sure you turn on the notifications, make sure you subscribe. Let's get into today's show. Raider Nation, what's going on? You guys are watching the Raiders Report, and today's show presented by Panda Supps. They just released a brand new supplement over at pandasupps.com, and I want you guys to try it with code Raiders to save 40% off. It's their brand new pandemic pre-workout. This stuff is the strongest pre-workout I have ever tried. That one's for no chalky heads. All right, so coming up here on today's show, I got Richie Incognito injury news. We're also going to be breaking down some Raiders trade rumors, maybe some players that the Raiders could trade away, the Raiders could trade for before the NFL trade deadline, and I put this one out on Twitter, and I had a lot of people like, is that fake news? No, Von Miller, he was traded today, and I'm going to give you all the details around what happened there. But let's first talk about Incognito. Unfortunately, Raiders interim head coach Rich Bisaccia doesn't expect Incognito to play Week 9, and basically he's been injured since the second preseason game up against the Rams. He battled a calf injury. He was spotted coming off the bus all the way back, I believe, on August 19th, coming off the bus with a boot on his foot, and the initial hope was that he was going to be ready to go after the Raiders' Week 8 bye, but the fact that the staff, the fact that the medical team, the fact that Bisaccia are all unsure when he returns, here's my question for you, and I want every single person down in the comments to answer this one. Is Incognito going to play this season? Y for yes, N for no. If he doesn't end up playing, then I guess his last name is absolutely perfect for this entire year. But will Richie, who is a captain, end up playing this year for the Raiders? Y for yes, N for no. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give this one probably 3 no Chucky heads and say that it's pretty likely that Incognito is done for the season. And this is actually a rumor that I brought up when the season actually started. I said, hey, don't be surprised if he goes on IR. Went to IR, and then I said, hey, if he doesn't play in Week 9, don't be surprised if they just go ahead and shut him down. So the fact that he missed 14 games last season, the fact that the Raiders have no idea when he's going to return, there's no doubt I want this guy out on the line. He's a bad dude. He's a good run blocker. But with the Achilles injury last year, with the calf injury now, it's really all just starting to pile on up, and it would not surprise me whatsoever if we just never see Richie on an NFL field again, which now means this. You're looking at the Raiders' offensive line. Colt Miller at left tackle. He's playing like a top 5 left tackle in the league. John Simpson coming off a much better game this past, I guess I can't say past week, in Week 7 up against the Eagles. Andre James, he had his best game up against the Eagles. Alex Leatherwood was a disaster at right tackle, but has been much better at right guard. And then Brandon Parker. Parker's probably still the weakest link on this offensive line. However, he has played better. He played pretty good in Week 6, and he played better in Week 7 as well. So after seeing that O-line, the biggest storyline, and I mean the biggest storyline around the Raiders this entire year has probably been on the O-line. What's your confidence level in it as it stands right now, Week 9? Scale it from 1 to 10. 1, you're not confident at all. 10 is the best offensive line in the NFL. I'm going to go ahead and say my confidence level is a 5, and it's actually grown a little bit because after the Bears game, it might have been a negative 10 because I was just freaking the hell out. But like I mentioned, Miller's playing out of this world. It really does come down to, I personally believe, the other 4 players. If Andre James can continue to play the way that he did against the Eagles, you're going to see much more growth out of John Simpson, and you're going to see a lot more growth out of Alex Leatherwood. The bigger issue, though, is what are they going to do at right tackle with Brandon Parker? And obviously, if you don't have Incognito the rest of the year, and if you kind of know that, I'm not saying that the Raiders cut him because, again, he is a team captain. A lot of the younger guys, they look up to Richie. He's a tough guy. But, man, I really wish they could have potentially invested some of his $2.3 million into some other players on the O-line, maybe even some guys on the defense. Now, here's the product I was talking about when I started the show off, Pandemic. It's their brand new pre-workout at Panda Supps. Now, I have to say this because I was talking to my guy, Merbod. He's the one that owns Panda, and he's like, I want you to tell people, if you're not good with caffeine, sometimes you take a quarter of a scoop. Yeah, a quarter of a scoop or take a half a scoop, because if you're not good with caffeine and you just take a full scoop, you're going to get like that ants feeling in your body where you're crawling all over you. Now, I will say this, for people who do work out, and for people like, I take pre-workout almost every single day. It is the strongest, it is the best pre-workout I have ever taken. And you can get it in peach mango and sour gummy. The sour gummy flavor reminds me a lot of those, those like Trolls gummy worms that you used to get as a kid that are like sweet and sour. It tastes just like that stuff. The peach mango reminds me of those peach rings that I used to get as a kid. Speaking of Halloween, I saw some kids walking around with peach mango ones in downtown Dallas. I thought that was pretty cool. But again, we're hooking you guys up with the best deal that Panda Sups gives out. PandaSups.com. Code Raiders. I want you to try their brand new pre-workout. If anybody's looking to get a little bit more motivation in the gym, if you wake up in the morning at 5 to take your dog out, Chuck, because he's got to go to the bathroom, and I'm like, shit, it's 5:30, I got to wake up and go work out. You take a scoop of this stuff, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I got to calm down before I walk into work and do a Raiders report. One more time, link in the description and in the comments, pandasups.com. Code Raiders. So the NFL trade deadline, y'all, it is tomorrow, and my Chat Sports team, they're going to be live here on YouTube, on the Chat Sports main YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed to that channel yet, please go ahead and do so. We got 265,000 subs over there. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv. So with the NFL trade deadline coming up, will the Raiders be buyers or sellers at the deadline? I want you to type B for buyers. I want you to type S for sellers. Here's the thing with the Raiders. I actually think that they could be BS, because I think they could be buying, I think they could be selling, but it also wouldn't surprise me if they did absolutely nothing, right? Like the conch shell from SpongeBob. If they do decide to be sellers, here are 5 players that I believe have the highest chance of getting dealt. Marcus Mariota, the rumors around Mariota, I'm telling y'all right now, are really going to start to get rolling, especially with him being connected to the Saints. I don't think it ends up happening. Kwiatkowski's name is going to be mentioned. Damon Arnette, Amik Robertson. If a team's looking for a corner, though, Arnette's still on IR with that injury. But the most likely player to be dealt on the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm going to sit here, it's Clelin Ferrell. The Raiders have been taking calls on him. The issue is there's not many teams out there that want to go ahead and take on his salary. A little bit, it's like $5 million this year. Then they'd have to take on basically $10 million. $15 million for essentially a year and a half of Clelin Ferrell. As you can imagine, not a lot of teams are interested. And if they do end up dealing Cle, I put a poll up on our community. Guys, you're getting at best a 5th or a 6th round pick for Ferrell. Now, what about if the Raiders go out and they decide to make a move? I changed this up from my needs list last week. Here, I believe right now are the Raiders' biggest needs entering the deadline. I'm still going to go out and say right tackle, because I just don't have a lot of confidence in Parker long term. Offensive guard with the injury to Richie Incognito. Defensive tackle, realistically, minus a few big runs by some quarterbacks. The Raiders have done okay against backs, but still, the DT depth does scare me a little bit. Center, Andre James, we'll see what happens there. And then cornerback at number 5. And this one's more, I don't know what's going on with Trayvon Mullen. The fact that we haven't got too many updates on him yet do make me a little bit nervous, but there are some players out there that I think the Raiders could potentially go out and get. Now, what you guys are going to see here are 10 names, right? And these names are a mix of players who I believe are on the trade block, players that I believe make the most sense for the Raiders to go out and pick up the phone. Melvin Ingram, he's on this list, and when you really think about all the Gus Bradley pieces that came in this offseason, Yannick Ngakoue, Casey Hayward, Denzel Perriman, you got Brandon Faison. They've been good fits in this defense. Maybe Melvin Ingram could be a guy like that. Saahdiq Charles, he can play left guard. He can play tackle. Cameron Dantzler, you just watched him on Sunday Night Football yesterday. Long, lanky corner could be another dude just in case they want to get rid of Amik Robertson. Sheldon Rankins, he was once a really good DT, but he's pretty cheap right now for the Jets. And then Emmanuel Ogbah. I actually think Emmanuel Ogbah is a very interesting name, probably one of the better edge rushers, and realistically, he's on the final year of his deal with Miami. I don't think they're going to end up bringing him back. 5 more names to at least consider. Chuma Edoga, the right tackle for the New York Jets. Matt Hennessy, if you're not 100% confident in Nick Martin and Andre James. Daron Payne, a great nose tackle from Washington. Matt Peart's probably the top right tackle that I would go out and trade for that's actually realistic. And then since the injury to Incognito, Andrew Norwell, left guard of the Jags. Those are 10 names that I want you guys to go ahead and keep in mind. Now, if there's any other names that you want to give me or let me know, as always, hit me up on Instagram, MitchellRens365. Now, this weekend was Halloween weekend, and I had a lot of fun. I dressed up. I told people to hit me up on Instagram. Instagram. For those of you that haven't seen, my costume was Squid Game. This was my girlfriend Alex. I was trying to get a picture with my dog Chuck, but he just was not trying to wear his mask. I did post something on my IG story, but I also said this. I want you guys to send me your Raiders, I guess, Halloween costumes. This is one of the first ones and probably one of my favorites that I got. He's trying to replicate the mean Derek Carr look, and I love that you put mascara on him because people always joke, like, does DC wear mascara? That one was all time. Now, we'll just continue to just cycle through these. I appreciate everyone that DM me. I appreciate that everyone that sent me some of these, awesome pictures with you, your friends, your family. This ghost scared the absolute hell out of me. Just for the record, I was like, who the hell is that? I was like, oh, shit, it's a ghost. And then this guy in the back, do you have actual shoulder pads on? Like, I think he's got shoulder pads. It's either that or he's been using Panda Sups. It's just crushing the gym. I got my guy here. This reminds me of my dad. This isn't my dad, by the way, but it does. Like, super nice guy right when he found out the first time that how you could take a selfie. That's what this reminds me of. He got my guy here and is repping his Henry Ruggs jersey on Halloween. Ruggs has been absolutely balling out. And Blake, I don't know if you made this or if your girlfriend made this, but you got a lot of candy corns and bones going on here. Max Crosby about to sack Taysom Hill on the IR. Awesome pictures. Hopefully everyone had an awesome Halloween. Now, part of doing the Raiders Report is obviously covering NFL news, and one of that is keep your friends close. I always say this, but you got to keep your enemies closer. And one of our enemies out of the AFC West made a pretty big move today. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to talk about that deal. But before I get into that, I do want to look at the AFC West standings because the Raiders, they are in clear first place. If the playoffs were to start today, we would be the number 2 seed. But because the Chargers lost, the Broncos, they're 4-4. The Chiefs, they play tonight on Monday Night Football. But the deal that ended up going down today, Von Miller, one of the best edge rushers that I have ever seen. A player who does his edge rusher camp. I know Max Crosby, he always goes to it. But the Rams are in all-in mode, y'all. So the Broncos, they get a 2022 second and a 2022 third-round pick. The Rams receive Von Miller. And I also tweeted this out saying the fact that the Broncos are still going to eat $9 million out of Von's $9.7 million contract for the remainder of the season almost makes me wonder if Von actually wanted out, because Denver's 4-4, they can still make the playoffs. So I actually think personally that Von wanted out and he wanted to go somewhere else. So here's my question, y'all. What are you doing later tonight? If that's a weird thing to ask you, it's all good. I promise you there is a reason. But what you doing later tonight? And there should only be one answer, and that's why I'm bringing it up. The answer for what you're doing tonight should be, you better be watching Monday Night Football. But Mitch, the Raiders aren't playing. You're right. It's the New York Giants on the road up against the Kansas City Chiefs. The over-under in this game is 52 points. The Chiefs are 10.5-point favorites. The only reason why you should be watching this game, the Raiders play the Giants in Week 9. The Raiders play the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football in Week 10. This is going to be a game where our next 2 opponents are coming up. So take some notes, write some stuff down, be on Twitter, be on Instagram. I know I'm going to be on there watching the game as well. So let me know down in the comments before I go who you think's going to win this game. And if you're doing anything else tonight, you know what? I don't want to know because I'm going to be upset. Seriously, though, let me know who you got in this game. Giants, Chiefs. Obviously, I want the G-Men to beat the Kansas City Chiefs.